Thank you.
Thank you. So with that to concentrate your minds, we will speedily get into the next session. And here we have a very interesting discussion from the mining perspective. And I'm delighted to say that we've got representatives from 4 heavyweight people in the mining world. And I'm going to hand over to Chaim to moderate this session and also to say a few introductory words.
Turn down the light, huh? Hello, friends. I just heard the security announcement. I did not really understand what it all means. I was only told one thing, that when the president is in the room and you want to go to the bathroom, you get up, you get shot. So, so let's take this seriously. And I mean, go to the bathroom first. Now I'm in trouble with the lady. Dear friends, we are getting into our mining session, and I just want to say 2 or 3 words or 3 or 4 minutes just to give the setting, and then I'll ask the panel members to come up. The first slide says my name, but it has the second name is Pranay. All of you know Pranay, and for the last 6 or 7 years I haven't done anything without Pranay, and he's just a terrific colleague. So I can make a lot of noise, but he's the brains, and he's yours. Next, how do we do that? Next slide. You know my pipeline, and I don't want to say too much about it, but just in the context of what we are doing here. At the end of the day, we are talking about growing demand and growing, but we need to have the product. And I want us all to realize that we are, like I said this morning, in the middle. If we have worldwide, we get about $15 billion out of the earth. That gets into about $22 billion polished. In other words, the entire added value of the industry, of the million-plus workers, etc., in Surat, and so the whole added value is $7 billion, and that isn't much. We need to get more out of the ground in order to grow that. So even if there is demand growth, if we need to have the product, you can see on my pipeline, the recycled goods have already become part of the pipeline, as is the synthetics. You don't see the synthetics too clearly because we still have too many synthetics which are getting into the jewelry, being marketed in improper ways, and we'll have to deal with that. It won't help us, we have to get to deal with it. If we as natural diamond business want to survive, we must deal with this in a way of proper disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. The pipeline question is how to generate growth in polished sales and profits. I want to show you. Do we have a pointer here? Should work, huh? I think without a microphone you can hear me? Yeah. Pranay and I are looking at all of you, the diamond industry, as if the global industry is one company with one balance sheet. We don't look at all the extra the double accounting. Hey, you have 40 billion here, you have 40 billion in Dubai, you have 30 billion in India, if you're in Belgium, and in Israel, of course, we also have 25 billion. We add it all up, we have great billion. But it's still the same diamond that goes over again. So Pranay and I look at every diamond once. And then we see that in our balance sheet, look here at 2014, we see that, and 2013, we see we're getting 16 billion, and last year 15 billion rock coming in, and the polish going out is around 22. If you then look to the bottom line, the net profit, And now we talk about the industry as a whole, and I want the producers to see that. The figures are not the figures which are imaginary. There are some companies that are doing well. There are some companies doing excellent. But as an industry as a whole, we are really doing almost nothing. In 2012 we lost, in 2011 we lost, 2013 was a better year, 2014 in our estimates it is better, but we still are not really making money. We also have 2015 projections, but this is a happy gathering, so we don't want to put those up. In our forecast, and I don't know what the producers will say about that, but we definitely see a softening of prices, also on the rock side. But I hope I'm wrong, because when prices go down, we all have inventories that go down, and we don't want that. That's the nice thing between us and the producers. We all want prices to go up and be firm. We don't want this volatility. And neither do the banks. You see here also the bank borrowings. We won't talk about that too much now. We have that tomorrow morning. But this is what we're talking about. We're talking about a $22 billion industry that gets into diamond jewelry, then becomes 75, but that's all the other things around it. How do I get next slide? I don't want to go into this slide because in the interest of time, and for me to stay out of trouble with the lady. But this is one slide I want you to look at. Like I said, the 7 billion is the added value. We have seen throughout time, and we take here from 1970 up to now, that really the added value of the industry has always been hovering around in that 5 to 10 billion area. It remains fairly stable, while we see that diamond jewelry sales have gone up and up. Now, you can say nothing wrong with that. I do say yes, there's something wrong. I don't accept that the added value of the industry should go the same way, but it certainly deserves to go a little bit more than that, especially when it starts getting involved into category marketing and do other things. I think the producers will give their views on this. I said enough. You talk about volumes. I want you to realize that when we talk about volumes, that basically in terms of carats, about volume, to you guys, especially guys in Surat, what should be important is the carats more than the dollars, because you are working on carats. You are not working on dollars unless you have a printing press at home, but then don't talk about it. But the carats is what counts. If you have less carats, you have less employment, etc. But in terms of value, we do see that we have a great reduction in value, in volume, sorry, but it really hasn't affected the total financial volumes. I want to say that there's an interesting discussion on volumes, and it's one of my questions that I will ask our friend Stephen later. That in your fantastic report, Stephen, you talked about annual production of 145 million carats. Kimberly process say 130 last time. I say about the same. I want to know, I will ask you later where the extra 15 million carats is coming from. I hope it is not illegal or illicit that we don't know. But I'm saying this partly smiling because it is not a really totally exact science. Okay? There can be different figures and they can all be right. And this is all the figures. There are best estimates. Sorry, they said I can't hear me in the back. Production levels are going to remain fairly stable as they are now up to about 2020. I am very much optimistic about later on. I believe that Botswana has a lot of surprises that we don't know yet, but I think they're working on it. I have seen estimated in Botswana, after Jwaneng has the cut 8, 9, there may still be 10, and there may be other things. We're not running out of diamonds, okay? And I don't want you to think that your next generation will not be in this business. I just wanted to set this so we know what we're talking about. Now I would like to invite the miners in the audience here, and that's very interesting. I did some, on a business card, I did some calculations. We have De Beers here with 6 billion, Alrosa here with 5 billion, we have Angola here, and we have Rio Tinto here. Together, that's about 13 billion. I think that, but I'm inviting now Stephen, please, Jean-Marc, please, Paulo, please, Ilya, please. We're having out of the worldwide production of around 15 billion, we are having about 13 billion on the audience.
On the list.
And I don't know with whom I was talking before. I think I said I think Paulo, didn't I say that I'll be happy with 0.25%? I have to make a serious statement, just like I made the other serious statement about not wanting to be shot. And I'm really serious. We're having on the audience, we're having on the podium, the entire world production of diamonds. Nowadays, when we are transparent, when we are legally compliant, I will be less flexible with questions and answers. There are antitrust issues. There may be no situation that anyone can even think that something is happening here, except for 4 nice people on at the podium telling you their story. So keep that in mind. Also, when you do ask a question, keep that in mind. Let's give them all an applause, and then I want Jean-Marc, please, will you give your presentation? Of course, all of you know Jean-Marc is Rio Tinto.
Thanks a lot, Chaim, and thanks for the words of warning around antitrust. We're going to keep an eye on you, because I think we can behave. Great. Well, great to be here. Always a pleasure. And this is a bit of obviously a special occasion with this World Diamond Conference here in Delhi, and we know the prominent visitors we're going to have this afternoon. And in my mind, this is it's a turning point. And what I'd like this conference to be is the time when India's business leadership in diamonds turns into India's industry leadership in diamonds, which I think is warranted and will be very, very beneficial to everyone in the sector. So welcome to India as true leaders of the industry, as you've demonstrated over the past weeks and months, and again here today. So, Honourable Minister, friends of the industry, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be here. And what I'd like to do today is share a few thoughts and experience about the industry that I've built over the past 10 years, and how all actors can better work together to build a brighter future for themselves and their business. One of the themes, I think, of the industry of the conference is going to be: how do we become a collaborative industry? How do we work together across the pipeline, across geographies, across businesses to create value in the industry together and bring better propositions to the consumer? So I'd like to share some of my experience and my company's experience in doing that, and see whether that applies to the broader sector. In over 10 years in the industry, I've built a firm conviction that working together in the spirit of partnership across the whole value chain from mine to retail is the most powerful way to create value in this industry in a sustainable manner, and to build a brighter future. So there are times of, these are times of significant challenge for the diamond sector. You know, I don't need to list these challenges. I think some of them were touched on, whether it's financing, whether it's transparency, whether it's consumers. But when times get tough, usually conflicts emerge, tensions emerge, and positions get polarized. But challenges also come with opportunities, and there are opportunities for change. There are times when change can emerge. There are times when a new sense of urgency can lead us to action, and times when we can get united rather than divided. So now is not the time to oppose and divide. Oppose small businesses to big corporations, as some have attempted to do. Oppose east and west. Oppose north and south. Now is the time for the industry to unite and build inspired and ambitious partnerships across sectors and geographies. So I believe the story of Rio Tinto's partnership with India is a good case in point. And I'll go back a little bit in history and under the control of my friend Nirupa here, obviously. But I'd like to share some elements of this story with you and leave it to you to assess whether there are some relevant elements to guide us going forward. 30 years ago, to this day almost, the Argyle mine in Australia started producing these large volumes of diamonds that enabled the emergence of mass manufacturing in India, as well as the emergence of a mass retail market in the US. Over these 30 years, we've delivered 800 million carats to the Indian manufacturing sector and provided work directly or indirectly to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. As you know, we've taken the mine underground now, and thus the underground ramp up here will be in full production around the middle of next year, and that's going to take us to a new chapter of our partnership with India as volumes grow again. Now, this did not happen overnight. Now, it took a hell of a lot of work that many of you have been involved in, and you see a picture of a younger Nirupa here, and some others will recognize themselves. It took a lot of work to learn how to produce these large quantities of diamonds, and we had to do it all together. We started from scratch. It took a lot of work to create markets for these products in the US, and we had to learn again from scratch and learn by doing with the IADC that many of you have been involved in. We partnered to find ways to elevate business practices in India so that we could face the expectations of international customers and stakeholders with the business excellence model, for example. And during that time, India was established as the diamond powerhouse that it is today. All this was a story of partnership. It was a story of working together. We've got these diamonds. What do we do with them? How do we all create value together by partnering and make sure that everyone in the pipeline in the industry benefits from it, from the miner all the way down to the retailer and the consumer? And I believe it is a success story. Today, over 80% of our customer base is Indian and is taking the whole round of production from our mines. And we've got new challenges and opportunities to work on. One of them is develop new volume markets. As you know, the US market is no more the volume market it used to be. We need to find new volume markets to move our products to. And on the left here, you've got the latest collection that we launched together with our friends from Chow Tai Fook, and Kent is here. But every of these initiatives here on the right, you've got Shades of Wonder, which is a collection that was launched with Sterling. Again, many of you are partnering in this. So the way we work here is we've got an idea, we work with the retailer, and we connect the whole chain together. We work with the jewelry manufacturers, we work with the diamantes, and we try to find a way to develop value-adding consumer propositions and retailer propositions, and we connect all the dots and we create an efficient supply chain, an efficient route to market all the way from mine to retailer. It's been a good model. It has created value, I think, for everyone in the pipeline, and that's certainly one that we think it can be an inspiration for us all. Going into the next chapter of our partnership with India, clearly India is no more just a production center. It is becoming an important consumer market, and we believe that it does have huge potential. So we've been working closely with our customers, with a network again of jewelry manufacturers, and with the most prominent retailers in India to think about how do we develop the mass market in India and how do we capture this opportunity together. You know, one of the manifestations of that is the Nazrana brand. And you know, what's interesting, I think, about the Nazrana brand is it's quite an innovative concept. It's what I call a partnership brand. So we develop the brand and we work with the retailers, with the jewelry manufacturers, with the diamond manufacturers in partnership to place the brand and activate it. We all invest in it, and it's not the Rio Tinto brand, it's everyone's brand in the network. It's a partnership brand. And I think we're going to make it the biggest retail, diamond jewelry retail brand in India. But it's all about partnership. Our future great adventure in India, I think, Rajiv, thank you very much for mentioning it, is the construction of the first diamond mine in India for over 40 years, and by any standard, a world-class mine. So the Banda project is situated in the heart of Madhya Pradesh, in the Chhatarpur district. We've been at it for the past 10 years, started in 2004. We've invested over $90 million in it. We're still at pre-feasibility stage. We've learned to work in the maze of the Indian administrative system, and believe me, it's full of learning and very interesting. We hope to produce one day, and we've got a very good project. We put a lot of hope in the new government, and we put a lot of hope in all the support that we can receive from our friends from the Gem and Jewelry Council to try to help us bring these diamonds to market. But again, it's going to be a story of partnership, or it's not going to happen. It's going to be a partnership to bring them to life. It's going to be a partnership to market them as diamonds mined in India, cut and polished in India. That I hope will revive the imagery and the imagination around Indian diamonds. So, fantastic project. You know, billions of dollars of benefits, economic benefits for the state and for the country, in form of employment, royalties, education, infrastructures, which we're dying to invest into. So, with your help, it will happen. So, in closing, before I say a word about category marketing, which I've been asked to do, I think it's pretty ironic to think that the miners are being asked to talk about marketing. But it so happens that I was a marketeer in my previous life, so I feel I'm not completely illegitimate here, and our friend here from the biz is also a marketeer. But I want to reiterate that what we've achieved working together with the diamond industry in particular demonstrate that it is not a zero-sum game. Sometimes some portray it as, you know, what the miners get, the diamantes don't get, and vice versa. You're sharing a fixed pool of value. We think we can work together to build that value and to share that value, and I think we've demonstrated it. And that's the spirit that everyone needs to work. We work in, and we need to bring that spirit to life in the industry. Regarding category marketing, as some of you know, I've been very involved in the International Diamond Board at the time. You know, I think, if I may contradict you, Chaim, I think that was the first time that everyone in the pipeline came together for an initiative. Unfortunately, it didn't come to life, but maybe there'll be another chance. It would have been a formidable collaborative effort from the industry, and I'm sure there'll be other chances. My conviction is that we're sitting with diamonds is the most extraordinary brand that you can think of. It's the most extraordinary name that any marketeer would dream of marketing. The diamond brand, if well taken care of, has huge potential. At a time when consumers are attracted to true true values, to heartfelt values and natural product. However, if we fail to nurture and manage this brand properly, I'm also convinced that it's going to lose its appeal little by little. The equity will diminish, and it's going to cost a hell of a lot more money to revive it when time comes. So we need to take care of our brand, because that's what we've been entrusted with. So I'm convinced that more marketing investment is required, more creativity, more efforts are required to go into supporting the diamond category if we want to remain our position first and then fulfill the potential of the diamond category. Anyone with a long-term stake in the business should have that as its top strategic priority, and certainly I have that as my top strategic priority next to trying to get the Banda project off the ground. So now, why is that not happening? I think the single most important reason is lack of dialogue within the industry. The industry remains incredibly fragmented, incredibly polarized. It's being hijacked by politics. I think, Honourable Minister, you mentioned that. Let's not let politics hijack the industry. It's been hijacked by egos. It's been hijacked by miscommunication, preconceptions. We've got to get rid of all that. Work together for the betterment of the industry and leave all the rest aside, because otherwise we'll die of it. So I've got a similar philosophy to that of Anup Mehta, who really inspired me in Hong Kong when he explained that he believed that a hell of a lot could be done if one was not going to try to claim credit for it. And I think if we could all work together, not wondering about who's going to claim credit for it, we could achieve a lot. So this is an invitation to do that, to try to for all of us to do something rather than be someone. A little bit more of the first, a little bit less of the second, a little bit more humility from all of us. Working hard, like Prime Minister Modi, to an objective together is what I think we need. Thanks a lot.
Jean-Marc, if you ever want to hijack the job of moderator, feel free. You'll be very good at it. Without any much talking, I'd like to invite Stephen Doucet to come to the podium. It is one person in the world today that has experience with marketing diamonds. It's Steve. He has been doing that for the last 30 years. And what all we want is, we want him to do another 30 years, Steve. That is what we really want. And if I can, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Haim. Good morning. Honourable Minister of Home Affairs, Honourable South African Minister of Mineral Resources, Chairman of the JGPC, President of the WFDB, President of the WDC, President of the BDB, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, I guess, and Haim, my old friend and colleague. Thank you for inviting me here to India and giving me this opportunity to speak to you. Like Haim, there'll probably be, and Jean-Marc, things that I'll say that you'd all agree with. I suspect also some perhaps to make you think a little bit differently. So maybe there's a few areas where I have views that perhaps are a little controversial about what it will take to maximize the future. But please bear with me and give me the opportunity to explain why I have them and why I think different solutions are required in the future than those which we've adopted in the past. I do want to say a brief word about India before I get going, looking at marketing. I think it's no surprise to anyone that we really are in the capital here in New Delhi of the world's most important diamond manufacturing center, and as others have said, an increasingly important consumer market, number 3 in the world, and over the past decade, one of the fastest growing diamond jewelry markets that there is. So it contains interest on behalf of De Beers across the spectrum, from exploration to our partners in cutting and manufacturing, to our retail partners and to consumers of diamonds. It's like the whole industry in one place. And we're very optimistic about India on all fronts. Just a word about the consumers, though. Interestingly, we just completed at De Beers and only have seen the first bit of results. We'll analyze them over the next month or so. But a major consumer study where we've spoken to some 40,000 Indian potential consumers of diamond jewelry to learn about their habits and about, obviously, what the opportunities are to grow the sector more. Again, we'll share all of this with all of you in the industry in 2015 once we digest it all. But, to give you one exciting tidbit, when we first did this sort of study back in 2002, about 2% of the target audiences that we spoke to had acquired a piece of diamond jewelry. In 2014, that figure is nearly 5 times as great, and nearly 9% of the target. So what does it show? We are penetrating and expanding this market over the long term. We know that there's a bit of a stumble in recent times, reflecting not the diamond itself, but the economic situation. But like you, I think we share the confidence in the government in India, and that economic growth will resume, and the diamond is in a very strong position to benefit. So things on the whole are good, but I think good in terms of opportunity. And the challenge is, how do we make sure that that opportunity actually becomes a reality? They're not necessarily the same thing. I hope many of you have seen the De Beers Diamond Insight report that Haim referred to in his introduction. It provides an opportunity for De Beers to reflect on the industry looking out to the future. It is available for you to see on the web, so it's all please take some time and go through it. A few key conclusions from it, though. I think one, most importantly, is that diamonds do across the world continue to captivate consumers. We call that the diamond dream. It's this mix of diamonds, emotion, symbol of love, symbol of eternity, eternal elegance. So we're not fashionable product. We don't want to be fashionable, because if you're in, you're out. We want to be eternally elegant. It's part of our promise. What you buy today, you can wear 30, 40, 50 years from now, and you'll still be perceived as elegant, and a store of value. That's what a diamond is forever means. That's what the diamond dream means. And people across the world continue to believe in those core attributes. So that's good news. Mustn't be complacent. As Jean-Marc says, we need to nurture it. We need to identify next generations and make sure they believe it. But it is a solid base to work from. And I guess, as McKinsey pointed out in that report, they talked about this concept of what they call the double cylinder effect. What is the double cylinder effect? It means if you can get growth in more than one important market in the world, then you have a great opportunity. And too often, if you look back over the past 25 years, we've been more stuttering. One market goes well, and then Japan goes off. Then America goes off, and China comes on. Then India comes off. Huh? We can't get the markets working in unison. And they believe that there is now a real opportunity in McKinsey's analysis that we do see in the decade ahead the opportunity for a number of our major markets. And again, the big markets for diamonds today, the U.S., about 40% of the world, China and India collectively heading toward a quarter of the world. If we can get those three markets growing together, then that will provide extraordinarily strong demand. And given the supply forecast, it gives us a great opportunity to generate a profit. So that's what makes us optimistic. I guess the problem with all that is you can look at all this macro data and forecasts and believe all what the consultants tell you. But fundamentally what they do is they look to the past and they forecast to the future. And we know that the future is not so predictable. And perhaps if there's one thing that we look at that gives us cause for concern, it is that not that we're necessarily, as an industry, spending less on marketing, because the big retailers are investing significantly. We've seen some of the work that Rio's doing. De Beers continues to invest significantly, $100 million in consumer marketing through its Forevermark program. So people are investing, but we're not investing as much as the competitive categories against which we're competing, particularly the whole digital world and the electronics world, but not only that. If we look at our share of voice in America, it's pretty much halved. Doesn't mean we're spending less, but relative to the others, we are spending less. So our share of voice is reducing. So we've got to find ways, not necessarily to increase, although I do believe we do need to increase, but to make what we are spending extraordinarily more effective and to work more effectively against the consumer targets. And that requires a deep insight into what consumers want and what our competitive advantages as an industry are. And to me, if there's one thing that this conference can generate, it's a commitment to understand what the opportunities are for our product relative to the competition. It's difficult for us to all align in a big marketing program in the way that we did historically. But if we all understand, I think, what the opportunities are, and we focus on those in our own efforts, and we communicate strongly on single key points to consumers, we are going to break through and we are going to get our message well understood. So I think mapping out how we generate that alignment, I'll talk a little bit about the gift of love. We heard earlier from Rajiv a little bit about some of the other motivations that might add to us. I think those are the things we need to get a view on and align on. Now, I guess it probably goes without saying that De Beers fundamentally believes in the importance of consumer desire. You know, without it, we can look at all of Haim's lovely charts about the billions of dollars. There's no business unless fundamentally consumer desires our product and believes it is worth the money that we're asking them to pay for it. Once they believe that, then we have at least the basis of an industry and the basis of getting a return on the capital we're all investing and a profit. So the business starts fundamentally there, and we recognize that. In part, perhaps because we helped develop that over decades with our what then was largely the category marketing effort. But when I look to the future, I'm not sure I'm going to find the answers in just the sort of activities that were done in the past. And let me talk to you a little bit about, I think, why we need some different answers for the future. The one, maybe obvious one, is De Beers' own role. And while I saw Haim doing the interesting dance between Alrosa and ourselves earlier, and who's his number one wife now and who's the number two wife, to be honest, it's largely irrelevant because we're both important. We saw that Alrosa was the leading producer by carats, De Beers is the leading producer by value, and will remain so for decades to come, given the production profile that we see. But the reality for De Beers is a different one. It's that we believe fundamentally in the importance of consumer desire, but we also reflect that our position in the marketplace is different than it was. We don't sell the majority of diamonds today. So that means we need to execute marketing programs, in our view, a bit like a normal industry does, that has multiple players. And those marketing efforts have to do two things. They have to help fuel the underlying desire that's in the category, because if you don't do that, then you don't have a growing category and you don't succeed. But you have to do that also by creating, with your money, proprietary benefit for yourself and your partners. And that's the most significant change for De Beers. So, yes, we're committed to marketing, although our first priority is promoting our production, the production of our partners, and those who partner with us across the industry. So, you know, it's like no free lunch now. Those who participate, who add value, who create value, then also benefit from that value. And that's more of the models we're looking for. I'll come back and talk to you a little bit about the Forevermark model. But importantly, that's not the only issue. There are two other, to me, fundamental issues that mean the solutions from the past won't work in the future. One of them is the issue of consumer confidence. It's a different game. The young millennial consumers in America want to know much more about their product. Any luxury product, not just diamonds. Diamonds, pressure's more on us because of the historic knowledge around conflict diamonds. So there's an awareness of blood diamonds. So, in the young consumer's mind, they're aware of our product category. We need to work harder to reassure them that buying a diamond is actually something that creates huge benefit for the countries in which it is mined, which I believe is fundamentally true today, and also in the countries where it's cut and polished, which I also believe to be fundamentally true today. The diamonds create huge benefit to the countries that are associated with them. But we need to make consumers aware of that, because they don't want luxury symbols that aren't things that they can feel good about. And when we saw that example from Rajiv about the Ferrari and Telsa, that's what that tells you. There's a whole emerging market. They want a very fast luxury car that goes from 0 to 60 in 30 seconds, or in 3.2 seconds. But they want it that is environmentally friendly, so they get both. So we have to appeal to those people. And thirdly, and this is the point that's perhaps is controversial, and I do want to focus a little bit on it. I'll be quick. I can see Hein standing behind me, which must be a message to come to the end.
You don't see her.
But it gets at a fundamental point that Hein was talking about, and that is the issue of margin. Consumer growth demand without margin, without profit margin, is of no use to any of us. Yep, so it's not enough to grow the category. You have to grow the category in a way that creates opportunity for people to have a differentiated product and a profit margin. If we go to retailers in America today and I ask them what's the biggest problem, they don't say it's a lack of consumers. They say it's a lack of margin at retail. I haven't got time to go through the reasons why margins have been reduced. There's a lot of obvious reasons between certificates and internets, and over-reliance on 4Cs when brands are important. A lot of reasons, but that's fundamental reality. So if we don't have retailers making a good margin, we will not have nice luxury environments. We will not have retailers contribute to marketing. We will not have a luxury experience. We cannot exist on the internet alone. We need luxury environments to compete against the luxury competitors. They need margin to do that. We need to create margin with our marketing program. It's a new challenge we didn't have historically. Fortunately, there are two really good tools that we can have to address this. And the number one in the mind of De Beers is branding. Branding is something that achieves all of our goals. It reinforces the emotion of diamonds, the symbolism, what makes people want them in the first place, but it brings the product to market with contributions from everyone who participates in that brand, but it creates a differentiated product upon which you can make a margin, which you can then reinvest in the building of the diamond dream. It becomes a self-sustaining marketing profit category growth model. And that's why we're so committed to branding. We see branding growing in America. The figures are remarkable. Young people getting engaged. 5 years ago, said 7% of them bought a branded diamond. Today, a third say they bought a branded diamond. And in China, we know brands are critical to what consumers believe are quality product and trust. Brands create trust. They create desire. And most importantly, they compete against the Gucci's and the Louis Vuittons and all the shoe and handbag manufacturers. They bring the glamour. They bring the excitement. So we need more brands. And that's why De Beers focuses so much on the Forever Mark. Forever Mark has grown extraordinarily rapidly because I think it appeals to this consumer. But most importantly, from all of you, I think and I'm going to show you a 60-second film, and then I'll finish. Be very quick, I promise. Just so you can see that it can create category desire at the same time as creating a differentiated product and a profit opportunity for all who participate. So in my last 60 seconds, I'm going to let the words do the speaking. Okay, thank you very much. A simple idea, but it can restore the category beliefs, the promises. But for our partners, all through the pipeline, it can make us all a differentiating factor. Thank you very much.
Steve, thanks very much. I have questions, and the super moderator doesn't allow me to ask the questions because we have no time, because, again, you remember the bathroom, etc. We have one additional speaker, and that is my friend Paulo from Indiama. And he's speaking here on behalf of the CEO of Indiama, from Sombola, Carlos, who is not here today, or couldn't make it. In the interest of time, Paulo has been an absolutely gentleman. He is absolutely great in Portuguese. And he is absolutely less great in English. And I have convinced him that his broken English is 1,000,000 times better than your Portuguese. So, Paulo, please come up, and whatever you say, the audience is sympathetic and will understand it.
Excellency, Minister of Mine and Mineral Development of South Africa, Excellency, Kimberley Process Chair, Mr. Bernardo Campo is here, Honorable President of Diamond Boss, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The moderator told me one secret. He said me that Paulo, the big producer company, will take 10 minutes for presentation. You are the less producer. No. You will take 5 minutes, not exceed 7. No, somebody told me this less, sometime maybe more. Angola is the 5th largest diamond producer by value, and we're still in the top 10 ranking of volume. I will be quickly and short for this presentation. I will speak on behalf of Mr. Antonio Carlos Sombola, the CEO of Angola Diamond Public Company, Indiama. He could not attend because he has the full agenda in the same time. Angola Diamond Company, we have our core business. We start in exploration, mining, trading, and polishing. How willing our hope is to be in the ice stage of diamond pipeline. We want to develop the polishing and the jewelry manufacturing. In this case, Angola welcomed the investor to develop and expand its polishing and jewelry manufacturing sector in the countries. Our organizational structure, Indiama is a group. We have in our core business the Indiama mining. We mine in joint venture with the local and foreign companies. We have Sodium, this is our trading branch. And we have the not core business as a clinic, a big clinic in Luanda, in the Diamond Province, to help the workers and the community. We have the big branch of social responsibility, is Fondation Brilliante. We build school, medical assistance for the communities. We have one security group for our property, and we have the team for football, and hotel. We have chain of hotel. We have the 4-star hotel in Luanda. We have the VIP restaurant. We have a 3-star hotel in Lunda North Province. We have the housing program for our workers, and some we sell for the citizens. The main subsidiary activities are the Indiama Mining, Sodium, and Alpha 5 for security. How production level we see in 2009 in red line, when the price of our diamond dropped so too much. Now, after the crisis period, we keep in the green line our production about 8.5 million of carats. They give us around on the 1.3 billion of dollar in revenue. This is the picture. We show that we still mining a diamond 1 centenary. We explored it. We mining the alluvial deposit. Only in the 1997 we started mining kimberlite. We have Katoka. This is the 4 largest kimberlite in the world. They have output around 6 million of carats and the value of $600 million. And we have some industrial medium project of alluvial. Also, we give some area for artisanal mining activity. We represent 21%, 26 for alluvial, and 553 for kimberlite deposit. I said that we still in the good top leaders, 50 by value and 6 by volume. Angola is now the KP chair, and we are welcome to Rwanda in the international section, in the plenary, and so we'll have some seminary. Angola will open dialogue for the triparty, industry, government, and civil society. My boss is here, Mr. Campo, who is the government Angola appointed as the city chair, the chair of Kimberlite process. Angola has the potential for diamond. We have kimberlite, we're still mining, and some kimberlite will continue to discover. We have the good partnership of all these leaders' company. We work closely with Al Rosa to fund the new kimberlite pipe. Also, we are I invite another big company has Rio Tinto, the bees. We already work with the bees. We find many medium and the small size of kimberlite deposit. No, the bees, we want to find the big deposit. Also, we have the challenge of the job because the future kimberlite will find they are located under 10 at 100 or 200 meters by superficie. We have the geological, technological constraint. We must to work closer with those companies to make sure that the kimberlite will put in production. Our price will be up that the break even, and we can guarantee the payback return of investment. We have some concession for kimberlite, alluvial production, and the new development project will build the Diamond Museum, the luxury real estate complex. We're still modernizing our city. We put the new building, and we want to put in Rwanda one area on the luxury hotels, restaurant, when we can sell diamond jewelry in our city. This is the reason to invest in Angola. Now, before to end, I will say that Angola is located in the southern Africa region. This region is the most peaceful region in Africa. The country is Angola, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, RDC will continue to provide in the next 20 years more than 50% of the diamond output in the market. And also we have the great potential after these 25 years we will continue to provide the diamond, now with the different conditions, with the geological and technological contents. Thank you too much for this.
Wow. There won't be time for questions. Andre, that's okay with you, my friend?
I don't think there's any need to repeat the speech with me.
It is in the...
Well, 5-10 minutes.
I just want to make a remark to Paulo. Paulo, you guys in Ndiama are going to be great because you have learned from the Indians. What have you learned from the Indian diamantaires?
Yeah.
If you are in diamonds, it's not a bad idea to put some of your money into real estate. Okay. You say we have 5 minutes. Then I would like to ask a question to Stephen that I wanted to ask publicly before. Stephen, the McKinsey report mentioned that within 10 years, 1/3 of diamond demand will come from recycled. Now, I can't believe that out of every 3 women in the world, 1 diamond will go back. I mean, one of the 3 diamonds, 1 goes back for recycling, but maybe I'm wrong.
My own view,
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you, Jean-Marc. My own view is that probably McKinsey's estimates are on the high side, I feel, but I do think it's going to be a continuing area that grows. So it will be bigger in the future than it is today, and that's largely to deal with the demographics of America. Americans largely acquired diamonds in the last 40 to 50 years. Sadly, even if we carry on for another 30 years of marketing, at some point we all have to die. And that means that there's an increase in inherited diamonds, and some of those diamonds will clearly be recycled back into the market. The other 2 drivers of recycling, the main drivers, and why I think it will be smaller than the McKinsey figure, are the 2 D's of divorce and distress, financial distress. So we've seen during the 2008-2010 downturn, financial distress driving more recycling. The economic improvement we see less driven by that motivation. And divorce, well, if you get divorced, you don't always want that engagement ring. So that's probably going to carry on, but unlikely to be growing significantly. It'll increase the number of marriages. So I think that will grow, but that figure seems...
It's interesting point about divorce. I mean, it gets you to another question. Huh? If the wife doesn't last forever, why buy her diamonds?
Sadly to say, there's nothing actually better for our industry than a bit of divorce, because marriage is like a triumph in the West, a triumph of hope over experience. Everybody gets married again and again, and we find that the average price of the engagement ring rises with each marriage. By the 3rd time, it's big numbers for us.
So now I get it. We're going to have more divorces. We want more divorces. We sell more wedding rings, and then we have more recycled diamonds, and we get our growth. Are there any? We have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Yes, Rami.
Stephen, a question. You talk about investing in your intellectual property in so much as your own branding. We all have businesses, but we're all talking here also about coming together and investing in generic marketing. Do you see De Beers prepared to contribute in that generic space as well, or is it purely the De Beers story?
Yeah, no, I think it's good to be clear, because misunderstandings can cause lots of wasted effort.
Our priority at De Beers is clearly the Forever Mark program, because we think it addresses the major challenges that we're going to face, and that's our priority. Does that mean that there are no areas where collaborative effort won't be beneficial? No. I think that there will be opportunities where some collaborative effort across the industry will be valuable. I think particularly in areas of new consumers, I think particularly in the digital media where there's opportunities to reach those consumers. So I think there are some messages that we can do, if we can all get aligned on a common message we can collaborate on and be productive. I wouldn't want people to think it's going to be a return to the days when we had global television programs on category demand. I think the requirements for resources in our own brands, but not only us, every retailer and otherwise needs differentiated product. But yeah, we're not adverse to collaboration where it makes sense. Thank you.
My friends, I have been advised that we have to cut it at this point. I can promise you that after the Prime Minister and the President, and so after they all have gone, and we have also tomorrow, there will be more time for interaction. You are a terrific audience, you are a terrific panel, you are terrific producers. Please do what you do best and do it as much as possible and as often as possible, so we all have more diamonds. Thank you. I think they deserve a big hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't get up. We have yet another fascinating perspective to bring you. If Haim doesn't destroy the podium in the process. We had some fascinating views from the big miners, and especially the big commercial miners, about the awareness about consumer marketing, the consumer market really setting the agenda, and the importance of diamond sales, diamond jewellery going up, and the retail sector is right at the critical interface with the luxury-oriented consumer. We also heard from De Beers and Rio Tinto, these two giant companies dominating the mining market, how brand consciousness is becoming increasingly important to them, and the value of developing partnerships. That's the subject that we're going to come back to tomorrow in greater detail. But certainly for a perspective on the luxury retail experience, and particularly in India, I'd like to call on Darshan Mehta, who is no stranger to this audience, predominantly presence in this audience. But for those of you who come from further afield, Darshan is the CEO of Reliance Brands, which has been absolutely fundamental in bringing international brands to India, brands like Xenia, which are intimately associated with success and luxury abroad. But Reliance Brands has also been building the consumer market here. So he has some fascinating perspectives, and we need to extract those from him, forgive the pun, before we break for President Putin and Prime Minister Modi. So, Darshan, over to you.
Thank you. I certainly thought I was a bit of a misnomer amongst miners, producers. I'm not even a minuscule consumer, although my wife continues to remind me that diamonds is the only thing that it doesn't become second hand. So, it's as the gentleman from De Beers said, that it's forever, but that's true. That's what she said. So, but what I do share in some measure is the fact that we are talking to a common end audience. And my perspective contextually is only in India, because that's what we do. We partner with mid to very high-end luxury brands, international brands, bring them to India. Our experience is nascent. The Indian luxury market in the true sense is less than 5 to 7 years old in the fashion business. And to that extent, it's a learning curve that sharpens and grows virtually month on month, year on year. But overall, it's a journey that's showing quite a bit of traction, although what we call the proverbial hockey stick curve, the inflection point, we all believe lies ahead of us, and that's what we're waiting for. So what I'm going to quickly focus, I know you've got lunch and then, of course, a more august audience ahead, is a quick, short 15-16 minute presentation on the last mile in luxury retailing in India. Just a bit of a precursor. Typically in emerging markets, we divide luxury consumers classically into 4 buckets. So there are the early adapters, what we call the experimentalists, who are constantly looking to, so to say, try newer products, newer experiences. Quickly going on to the connoisseurs, typically the collectors. These are people who like limited edition stuff, people who like to collect, and this goes across different categories and classes. You have the flaunters, and this takes on the, so to say, the badge value seekers, and this is the biggest audience in, although I don't like the phrase, it is true, it's a new money market. China was a new money market 10-15 years back. Japan was a new money market 30 years back. India is the new kid on the block, and we are possibly the fastest rising, what I call the new money market, and to that extent the flaunters and the badge seekers take a large amount of the luxury consumers. And finally, the people who are the arrived, people who do it for themselves, people who are truly, again, as an antithesis to the new money, a bit of the old money, who do it for their own satisfaction, who enjoy the craftsmanship of the product, who enjoy the lineage of the product, and so on and so forth. And the reason we bucket these four kind of different mind states of the consumer is that there are different strokes of luxury marketing, in a sense, for each of these 4 buckets. I'm of course not going to delve deep into that. What I'm quickly going to do is just take you through what we see essentially 6 different touch points in the subject given to me, which is the last mile excellence in luxury marketing in India. Again, as I said, to remind you, a lot of the examples would come out of the fashion business, which is bags, shoes, apparel, jewelry, in some sense. So the first and foremost is that in our business, the store increasingly is the temple of the brand. It actually personifies the brand. It brings to life in a 3-dimensional sense what the brand's about, and it is increasingly common for luxury brands to spend large, unheard sums of money in building truly what I call museum stores. And many of you as consumers would have been to some of these stores. I just saw a year back the new Louis Vuitton store in the Marina Bay Sands area in Singapore. It's virtually like an island inside the lake. Stunning store. I mean, it's actually difficult to find some bags inside the store. It's so much full of art and other things. But yeah, incidentally, you do end up finding a bag and a clutch in that store. But it takes the whole concept of the store itself to the next level. After sales service, so you can convert a consumer into a hostage through that process. The whole concept of the going from the made to order, the made to measure, the bespoke, the limited edition, all that holy grail. VIP events, I'll talk a bit about that, and the communication lineage, and again the gentleman from DBR spoke about creating the brand value equation and building that perception through lineage, through craftsmanship, through the history, explaining to that customer, okay, why it costs what it does cost. And finally, the new differentiator, which is technology. I'm going to again run through that. We normally classify our store journey, the touch points, through 6 different touch points. The starting point is the store of Asia. Small things in new money markets, emerging markets like India. If you have a store inside a mall, we found the difference between having a closed door versus an open door. You have ambient temperature inside and outside the same, both are air conditioned. If you open up the door, okay, it's one layer less in telling the customer that it's okay to come in, take a quick look, browsers are welcome, okay. The moment you see a closed door, okay, to that extent, the more hesitant customer finds it difficult to enter. Keep in mind one thing, new money, while it is bold, it is also very easily intimidated. I don't see too many people who, and India is full of what I call first generation money, who have the panache to go into a Prada or a Dolce & Gabbana store on a Bond Street and ask for the right product. In fact, we find that 9 out of 10 customers pronounce Xenia as Zegna, Zenga, all of that, etc. And for them, a lot of mystique of the brand actually lies sometimes even in the unpronounceability of the brand. So you need to make that first generation money customer comfortable. And the first step is keep your door open. Okay. Sure, you may have a person who is standing behind the door as a matter of courtesy, but it starts with that. The greeting, the words, we actually create the vocabulary for our stores. So what are absolutely no-no words? Anytime the word "may I help you" is an absolute no-no vocabulary. It creates a pressure of purchase. So certainly when the customer comes in, you greet the customer, you create eye contact, maybe you have a conversation about the weather or things outside, but you never ever say, "may I help you?" Because in a sense it's a way of saying that if you're here just to browse, you're not welcome. But on the other hand, you do greet a customer, and we create a lot of opening statements, and that's what we educate in the vocabulary. It's the same way, in fact, a lot of our parallels we have actually drawn from the Apple store, the Apple retailing. As we all know that Apple moved from a technology company into a very high-end luxury retailing company just by what they did with the retail channel. 7-8 years back, it was unthinkable that a technology company could actually drive their own retail. Many other technology companies in the past tried to do it and failed miserably. Apple completely changed the paradigm on its head. The global per square feet sales productivity of Apple is 2 times that of Tiffany. I am told that Tiffany averages around $2,200 per square feet per annum. Apple is in the region of $4,000 per square feet per annum. So it actually shows. And in Apple, they actually give a list. There are actually 20 words which are abuses. It's like a sacrilege, using a cuss word in a religious place. Words like saying not possible or impossible, any form of negation. I mean, you actually start building insights into how people at an Apple store interact with you. So a lot of it is about teaching the right vocabulary. The third touch point is the engagement. So having greeted the customer and welcomed him, okay, as the customer starts moving inside the store, the moment you find that she or he has started some form of interaction with the product, maybe picked up a clutch or started looking at a tie or something like that, and that's the time you create more eye contacts. You never abandon the customer, okay, you don't become indifferent to the customer, but you go out, you create touch point and saying, that's from our new season's collection, or make a comment about that product, and of course, if there's more invitation, you reach up to that customer, and then, so to say, a slightly deeper journey begins. Leading up to the product trial, for clothing especially, and we are all customers, the biggest stress zone is the trial room. You're inside the trial room, and especially men consumers who don't easily want to, remove the pants because they need to remove their shoes and, all of that, etc. So when you need to try on a pant, and you find the size is not right, and the man or the woman has left you, okay, and that's a big stress zone. So this is a very, very critical and important stage in the journey within the store. So always be there, offer honest comments if the comments are sought about or asked for. This is also trying to upsell and cross-sell. And finally, of course, is the closure of that particular that engagement, which is whatever happens at the billing. And some of these are obvious, but a lot of retailing and the last mile excellence is actually out of doing what we realize are simple and insightful things, but it's about doing it over and over and over again, as a nice hotel would do. Every time you're there, it will make you feel welcome, and it, in a sense, is repeating a high standard process over and over again. Then it's what happens after the sales that makes the customer a brand hostage. So, of course, in India it's absolutely common to ensure that there is assistant available to drop the bags to the car, very often to home. We also have, for obvious reasons, money pickup services from home. So the customer may not be willing to use a credit card and may not be carrying enough quantum of money. That's common. We very often take a portion of the store home. So amount of business that we do through what we call home shopping, and through not just home shopping in the city where we have stores, but in smaller cities which also have small but very rich pockets of customers. So some of our largest customers are in cities like Nagpur, cities like Coimbatore. We all know all the, so to say, legendary customer from the Ludhiana and the Coimbatore, which is truly first generation money, deep pocketed customer, needs to be serviced at their own homes. Big portion, especially in the men's clothing business, in the luxury business, is alteration. As we discovered, men gain and lose weight all the time. Okay, we recently had a customer walk into a Xenia store and ask that, I've been a Xenia customer all my life. I haven't bought from here. Do you respect the Xenia alteration service? Because Xenia offers global free lifetime alteration service if you bought a Xenia product. And we said, of course we do. And he said, oh, I have some suits, can I drop them by? And he sent a shopper next day with 46 Xenia suits. We didn't know there was a customer. He's from Calcutta, he has a house in Bombay. We didn't know there was a customer in India who owned 46 Xenia suits. And they were from across an era and a period that he had bought. And he was, of course, we took a few weeks, but we would do that. Some of that products we even had to send to Singapore because we didn't have the right machines to be able to open and alter the suits, and he had significantly lost weight from the time he would have purchased that. But it's a big part of the engagement and the stickiness that you create. Advice about product care, whether it's watches, whether it's suits, whether it's expensive leather items, and of course after sales communication. Never ever forget when you know that the woman was confused whether she's buying the right tie for that special occasion. If you were to send her a small message or call her up on the day after and saying, did it go well? Did the tie work well? Did it work its magic? She'll never forget you. You'll convert the customer into a good hostage. A very, very big new trend in the market in India, as I see in other Asian markets, is a whole made-to-measure, going all the way to bespoke service, limited edition products. Typically, in our made-to-measure and bespoke services, there are the 4 engagements: the time when you measure up the customer, the time he waits for the delivery, actual delivery of the product, and of course the final product arriving. And each of these are very, very important critical stages in this journey. We have at least more than a few hundred loyal customers for whom we even design the fabric. So just to show how deep the customer gets engaged, so you have a 5-meter fabric which is exclusively designed for you, from which your bespoke suit is made, and on the fabric the salvage will basically say Ermenegildo Xenia, Mr. So-and-so, and again the name. And when the suit is cut, the cut salvage, because obviously you don't wear that on your suit, is wrapped in a nice box, and that also becomes like an heirloom to show to your children or to your wife or to your loved ones, to say how that particular fabric is also one of one because it was designed and woven especially for you. Lot of made-to-measure getting into shoes, getting into bags. And the reason I'm saying again all of this is all of you finally are also talking to the same mindset. It's the same rich customer who is, so to say, changing buckets based on the new wealth that he and she have acquired. And of course, the collector's editions are always a huge hit. Many of you would have heard when Hermes launched in India, the very big flagship store, 490 Hermes saris. What better way to say hello to India than a Hermes sari? We all know of the Hermes scarf, and those have become now absolute collector's items. We routinely do very high-end VIP customers. So India, and I suspect markets like this, are full of customers who would never walk into a store. They are top industrialists, bureaucrats, politicians, you name it. And they look for products that are not even normally available in a store. Typically these are held in presidential suites of very high-end hotels. You give them private slots of 1 hour time each. There's a whole shop created and special products flown in. So the best of the best wools, for instance, the Vicuña wool, which is a absolute heritage item. Between Loro Piana and Xenia, there's only that much of Vicuña wool that is shaved off the vicuña animal every year. I don't think together the world can make more than 70-80 vicuña suits in a year. They retail upwards of 2.5 million rupees and above, and we sell a lot of those through VIP events and stuff like that. But that, in a sense, so to say, heightens the brand appeal and the brand value, and again goes towards this, so to say, how the last mile excellence is going into newer and newer areas. Our store level events increasingly don't relate to wine and cheese. No, for this customer, time is the new currency. But where you will certainly engage him or her is in terms of talking about product lineage, craftsmanship, about the history of the brand, and so on and so forth. How an Hermès scarf, how every scarf goes through a certain level of diligence, the time it takes, the Birkin. You all know how Hermès is built out of the Birkin, where we know that there are extremely rich women who would wait upwards of 12 months, 18 months to lay their hands on that one Birkin. I mean, sometimes, in exasperation, we say, finally, for God's sake, it's just a leather bag. But they go through that entire time. If you have a special Birkin design, it could take anywhere from 24 months and above. Someone mentioned about Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton did a very, very interesting event. They flew in 3 of their top brand ambassadors who are absolutely, in a sense, epitomizing the Louis Vuitton lifestyle. And they picked up 18, between Hyderabad and Bombay City, they picked up 18 young people, the next generation of the top industrial families, who are just going to take on the reins of those businesses, who are all studied in Ivy League schools and colleges abroad, coming back, and they just treated them through very elaborate sit-down dinners, okay, and just conversations about luxury in general. There was no product pitch, there was no sales pitch, there was no conversation about Louis Vuitton. It's just that Louis Vuitton invited them. In fact, half of them were then flown to a special Louis Vuitton event in France, in Paris, and you can imagine when that generation grows up how locked in they are to the brand. So the luxury industry is going through many newer hoops to create that deeper penetration with their customers. We have a global brand ambassador of Xenia who comes in twice a year, and all he does is he will again engage top-end customers, our super loyal customers, over a cup of coffee, over a meal, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes 2 or 3 people, and there isn't any sale in that conversation. It's just about the brand, it's about what's happening, doing all of that, etc. And believe me, you will find that very rich people who are very time-challenged people do sit in and spend time on these. And the last bit, which is a part of one, is that the time up sign? Okay. So last bit is the last bit is a technology bit, and again, right from iPad, so on and so forth, etc., are the new touch points. Don't forget to visit the new Burberry store on Regent Street. Any of you have not visited that, to my mind, that is currently holding the bar in terms of what technology can do inside a fashion store. I have a video, but I suspect I don't have time for that, so we'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay here for a moment. That was a fascinating exposition of the impact of luxury, and definitely the speediest I've seen. Just one question, which I think is really relevant to this diamond audience. Whether you see the issue of emotional branding, the linking of diamonds to love in particular, as being an advantage in terms of promoting it as a luxury product.
Oh, absolutely huge. I think this industry has 2 big assets. One is this whole emotional connect, which is that you're actually positioning. Increasingly, products are not positioned in terms of their actual raw material content. It is about the story that you tell around that. It's the emotion that you build around that. And diamonds, okay, for obvious reasons, have that emotion in so to say, embedded into it. The second is, for most of the product categories, we actually are trying to position many of our product categories as not as consumption class, but as an asset class. I mean the classic Patek Philippe line, which is saying, you're not buying a Patek Philippe, you're only holding it for the next generation, which is basically saying it's not consumption, it's an asset class. But diamonds are already an asset class. They are perceived as an asset class. Okay, so to that extent, you have two, so to say, added advantages already.
Thank you so much for that. I think we'd all like to show our appreciation. And that was really a tour de force, and especially under pressure from two secret services. Just before we leave the room, we have some presentations to make to the speakers of these last two sessions. And for the presentations, I'd like to call up Ms. Nina Mehta from Dimaxon, Mr. Vasant Mehta, Mr. Barak Kakadia of Sheetal, and Mr. Sanak Parekh of Mahendra Brothers, to make the presentations to Stephen Lucier, Jean-Marc, Jean-Marc, Paolo. Is Paolo still in the room? No. If you come up to the podium, gentlemen. And Darshan, will you kindly come up to the podium to receive a token of appreciation? And once again, let's show our speakers our appreciation for their contribution. Thank you. Thank you. No. Okay. Oh, Paolo's here. Right up there. Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. We will now proceed to lunch, and then we will proceed to the historic event of this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed.